So hi again, my name is Kola Adebayo, and I work with LodgeLink as a senior full stack developer. And today I'm going to be speaking briefly about the company LodgeLink, and also I will be speaking about some of the challenges that we are facing while trying to solve certain problems, and how we also go about tackling those challenges with technology. So this, in a nutshell, are the main points that I'm going to be speaking about. I'm going to be talking about LodgeLink and what we do. I'll speak briefly about our journey so far, the technology stack that we use in development, a little bit of problem solving with technology, and then I'm going to be wrapping up with what is a day in the life of a LodgeLink developer like. So about me, this is a very brief introduction. In case you want to get in touch with me, maybe sometime after this event or whatnot, you can always reach out to me via my email, kadebayo@lodgelink.com. As you can see, I've been with the company since 2019 here in Calgary. So what's LodgeLink about and what do we do? Now, LodgeLink, it's a one-stop shop for workforce travel solutions. If I was to summarize, I would say it's basically a platform where we aggregate the data from hotels and lodges, and then we use technology to make it possible for our clients to access and book these properties seamlessly, and also give them a very efficient way in terms of how we go about billing these customers. So that's primarily what we do. And there's three things of note that I think I'd really like to share in terms of some of the things that makes us to stand out. Now, first is that we have a very fast, customizable property search. The type of, we're a B2B, and so we recognize that when our customers are trying to search for certain properties, they need to be able to drill down to the very finest details in terms of how they do their search and how they actually get property results. So we make sure that we have a very efficient property search on our platform that we constantly maintain and upgrade so that they can have the best experience. Another thing that makes us stand out is that we have a very customer-centered booking flow. If you've ever been to any other hotels, a regular hotel's website, you'd notice that it's just, okay, you go there, you select maybe a number of rooms, how long you want to stay there, and then that's it. But in dealing with our customers and from taking feedback from our customers over time, we've been able to really build out a booking flow that is really meant to address the needs of our clients. So everything from them being able to load crew list data, for example, when they're trying to make a booking, we make sure that they have all those types of features available to them. And we also recognize the fact that for some of our customers, they even have subcontractors, right, who are working for them and who also need our platform. So we make sure that we take all these needs into account and make all this very, very easy for them to do. A third thing that really makes us stand out as well are the reporting features that we provide for our customers. So again, being B2B, we work with a lot of businesses that would really like to get insight into how they're spending their money and the data from there as well. So that's another thing that really makes us unique in terms of what we offer. Now, LodgeLink was established in 2017. And since that time, the progress has been amazing. We now have more than 300,000 beds aggregated on the platform that's ready and available for our customers to book at any point in time. And we also have close to 1,000 customers currently on our platform. So that has been a pretty amazing step and journey all the way from 2017 till now. So that's a little bit about the company generally. And now I'm going to go into some of the technology that powers our application. So the full stack is what we have here on the screen. Our front end is primarily Next.js and React. Next.js, obviously, because of its unique server-rendered and SEO capabilities, and React being a modern front-end library of choice that we really love to work with. And our backend, we make use of popular technology, so Node, TypeScript, GraphQL. GraphQL being the technology that I'm going to speak a little bit further about today in terms of speaking on how it helps us address some unique challenges. So this is the full stack that our developers use day to day. So what are some of the problems that a company such as ours has? So first, certain data and application needs. Okay, so when you think of the data entities that we deal with on a day-to-day, or the data models that represent the objects that we use in our application. So everything that defines the customers, to the properties, to the activities that they implement on the platform, we need very highly structured relational data to be able to accomplish what we need to do. So that's a unique data need that we have. And there's several of these entities that have very complex sort of properties within them, right? That's another need that we have as well. Another need that we have is we need to be able to rely on data as it travels from one part of the application to the other. So if you think about it, if data is originating from point A and going to point B or point C, we need to be sure that that data isn't changing. We need to be able to trust that there's going to be that consistency as well. That's another need that we have. Another need we have as well is when you think about the fact that there is the possibility of multiple type of front ends for our customers to use. So web on mobile, and also mobile app as well. You'd agree that it's necessary for us to be able to have some type of very simplistic way of querying data and being able to rely on the data that comes back to us on whatever type of platform. And in solving some of these problems, GraphQL has really helped us out because it has helped us to tackle the problem of type safety and relying on the types that we have flowing through the application. So if I have a type computer, right, I should be able to trust in the fact that type computer and its properties is going to be the same from point A to point B. So GraphQL really helps us solve this problem by being able to really define data in a really intentional way, right? That's some of the things that GraphQL helps you to do. And so to demonstrate that and to demonstrate how this really helps in the developer experience and how it also helps us in building out the application, I'm just going to go through just a few slides here. So for the sake of some of us who haven't maybe worked with GraphQL or who have heard of it, but are not entirely sure how it works and what it does, I'm just going to briefly speak about it. Now, this is a simple Express server right here that is set up. Nothing special, but if you look closely, you'd see that it's actually integrated with a GraphQL server as well. So we have an Express server and a GraphQL server working hand in hand. Now, two things I'd like you to pay attention to are two things we pass to our server. First is a resolvers object, and the other is a type definitions object. So obviously, what I'm speaking about is GraphQL and type safety. So type definitions is something that we obviously need to touch on. Now, in any GraphQL application, you need your starting point for the application is essentially defining your type definitions. So we have this little application here that is really meant to create and power a rocket, right? We're meant to be able to create and launch a rocket right here. So what are some of the things that we would consider as data types for this type of application? So we would consider that, okay, a rocket needs to be powered by a fuel, whether solid or liquid. And then we will need to, at its basic, define what a rocket is meant to have as its properties, right? Also, in terms of creating or launching a rocket, we want to be able to define what are the things that we need to pass as arguments, right, when we want to perform these operations. So all of these things, which you could otherwise just not really care too much about defining, GraphQL forces you to define it from the very beginning or from the very start. And so what that means is that in our application, in everything that we build, we're able to, or we have to follow this process. Okay, and so I will go ahead to show you how this then translates or benefits the bigger picture of our application via this example that we're looking at. So we've defined a few types here. And again, another thing that might be strange to anyone who hasn't used GraphQL is you'd see that we have a query and mutation object here. That's just GraphQL's version of saying if you need something, there needs to be an equivalent query that's going to give you that data. And if you need to create something, there needs to be a corresponding mutation that's going to create that data for you. And that's basically what we're defining here. But this isn't a GraphQL course, so I'm not going to go into that too much. Now, when we define this data this way, the next thing is how do we go ahead to use this data within our application? And it's very easy. By adding a YAML file that's 5 lines in length, we can actually then generate TypeScript types. Obviously, TypeScript is one of the technologies that I spoke about that we use in our stack. And by adding a simple configuration file like this codegen.yaml file, we're then actually able to generate types for our application, which we can then import, into our business logic. All right, so the process I'm showing here is to a large extent very similar, right, to the workflow that we use on a day-to-day in how we're creating our application. So again, back to the topic, GraphQL Type-Safety stable application. We started by defining data types. We then went on to make sure that we had a tool that generated those data types for us in a way that's usable within regular TypeScript. So great developer experience. And then we've gone on to be able to import these data types, right, within our business logic. And then we can pretty much use this within any of the functions that we are creating. So all of these types that you see being imported here, you can see how they play a huge part in our application, in how we're making sure that if at any point in time, any data at all does not match what we want it to be, we are easily informed. We are easily notified. We get compile time errors, right? Instead of having that happen at runtime. So this is just some of the things that we make use of day to day, and this is how GraphQL really helps us. Now it doesn't end there. GraphQL is self-documenting. So what that means is that for any developer that's coming on board, so as part of our onboarding process at LodgeLink, after taking, whether it's a developer that's previously familiar with GraphQL or not, after taking them through some of the basics, it's really easy for developers to understand the flow of the application by looking at the GraphQL Playground, which is a self-documented app that you can essentially get access to via the browser. So we created a few things here within our type definitions. We created 3 methods, right? And in creating this, we're essentially defining method signatures. So the name of the method, the input type, and what it's going to return. And so here, we actually immediately get all of that self-documentation as things that we are able to go and inspect and see how to use them. So we defined, for instance, a query that's meant to return data to us called getRockets as an example. And we can immediately see here that this is a query that's existing and is going to return to us an array of rockets. And we can see what the type of a rocket is going to be. So we simply efficiently query that data, we get results back. And for every other resolver that you define, whether it's a query resolver or whether it's a mutation resolver, you can easily get access to all of that here within your playground. And also in terms of error checking, right? So this is how you can immediately see. In this particular case, I have intentionally put a wrong argument here, because in our array of rockets, rocket 1 is actually meant to use a liquid fuel, not a solid fuel, but we pass it solid, and here we get the error back. So this is just one of the very basic ways in which this technology, GraphQL, in which it helps us. A number of you might be maybe more familiar with using a REST API, or how you query data using a REST API. But our decisions to use GraphQL for our particular use case, it has been one that has been very, very beneficial. It's a choice that we do not regret at all, and we're forever going to love it. So to wrap that up, I'm just going to speak briefly now about what a day in the life of a LODGELINK developer looks like. So there's three major things I'm going to touch on. First, you get a chance to work on some really interesting tasks. We have a regular sprint cycle. What that means is that you frequently get user stories and tasks assigned to you. Will always be challenging, will push you. It will build your skill set, build your competency as well. A second point as well is that aside from you building out new features, you'll also be providing some level of support for the code that you build. And so that kind of like gives you a good maintenance kind of experience in terms of maintaining your code, which also goes along in making sure that you are a test-oriented kind of person. So making sure that unit testing is a key part of application development. And then last but not least is obviously collaboration. There's lots of talented developers that I am personally very proud to work with. And you really get to collaborate with these guys, get to really see things from their perspective, from their point of view. And yeah, so that in a nutshell is LodgeLink, about our technology and some of the problems we're solving.